Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Weekly Academics and you listening to Faiza Inamdar. So yes, I did take one day break because it was a Saturday. But today I'm back with the next podcast. As I said, in today's podcast we'll be discussing objectives and the methods of struggle of the assertive nationalists. We'll be talking about their characteristics a bit in detail. So without taking a lot of time, I'll directly get into it. But before that, this is when you study this part of the chapter, try to relate it, try to compare it with the same part which we studied for the early nationalists. When we studied the characteristics and objectives of early nationalists and their methods of struggle, try to relate this part of the chapter with that part of early nationalists. So if you want for reference, the podcast on objectives and methods of struggle of early nationalists is available on YouTube, so you can listen to that and then listen to this and then create your own comparison chart, because that way it's quite easier to remember and to understand the differences. Okay, and later on, yes, I'll be emphasizing in one of the podcasts upon the differences, but for now, while you study, it's way better if you do it in a comparison way, because that's what I did and that worked really well. So now let's get into it. Objectives and methods of struggle of the early nationalists along with their beliefs. So first we'll discuss their beliefs and objectives in short, and then we'll move on to their methods of struggle. So now, as we've seen throughout the period of the Surat split and a partition of Bengal, we've realized that there are two blocks within the Congress itself, and then now they've already split up in 1907. And now we're discussing about the group which consisted of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, Aurobindo Ghosh, and Bipin Chandra Pal. So these were the assertive nationalists. They are known as assertive nationalists or the aggressive nationalists. They opposed the moderate views of the early nationalists because they thought that to achieve their demands, pressure had to be used. It could not happen through the moderate ways in constitutional agitation. And because of all these things, they were the major ones to suffer. They were the ones who went to jail most of the times. They were the ones who had to face a lot of riots and everything. And that is the reason also why Bal Gangadhar Tilak was called the father of Indian unrest by a British journalist. Okay, so now let's look point-wise into their basic beliefs and then their ultimate objective. So their basic beliefs were, they did not have any faith in the British sense of justice and fair play. So the early nationalists had ultimate faith in British sense of justice, but the assertives had no faith in British sense of justice and fair play. They pointed out all the deceit, all the treachery that the British men had done, that the Englishmen had done. Whereas when we studied the early nationalists, we could see that they appreciated the good that British brought to India. These people tried to point out, tried to present the other side of the coin, which was harming the country. So they did not have any faith in British sense of justice and fair play. Second, they believed that the 3 P's won't work anymore. Now these 3 P's are pray, please and petition. These 3 P's won't work anymore. And Lala Lajpat Rai wrote, and I quote, "An Englishman hates or dislikes nothing like beggary. It is our duty to tell the Englishmen that we are no longer beggars." So from this line we understand they wanted to prove that Indians have their demands and their demands must be fulfilled, is what they wanted. And they could see that the process of pray, please and petition was not really working out. So now this brings us to the third point, which says claims their another belief. They believed that if not using the pray, please, petition method, then what is the method to be used? So they believed that now it was required to apply strong pressure to get their demands fulfilled. Okay, so they had a sturdy spirit and they provoked self-reliance, self-determination. Tilak once said, and I quote, "Political rights will have to be fought for. Moderates think that these can be won by persuasion. We think that they can only be got by strong pressure." So this line quite well explains the difference between their views. So they did not believe in persuasion. They said that strong pressure is required. Okay, so that are basically their beliefs. Quickly, I'll just recap. They had no faith in British sense of justice and fair pay. They did not anymore believe in the 3P way of approach, and they believed that strong pressure is the only way to get their demands fulfilled. So with these beliefs, what was their major objective? Okay, so now when we studied the early nationalists, we had a huge list of objectives, right? Constitutional objectives, administrative, economic, civil rights and liberties. We had these 4 sections in the objectives. But in that, one major thing was that they wanted a constitutional form of self-government, right? They wanted a colonial form of self-government. They wanted the dominion status, right? But that's where there is an opposition when we talk about the assertives. So the assertives believed in complete Swaraj. Their ultimate objective, to state in one word, was Swaraj. And Swaraj means self-government. There is no talk of dominion status over here. They wanted complete independence from the British rule. Because as Lala Lajpat Rai said, a subject nation could have no politics except the politics of freedom. So they wanted complete freedom. They did not really want the British to stay in the country. And this is very well depicted through the famous line of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. Swaraj ha maza janma siddha adhikara hai ani to mi mirve nats. This is a very famous line of Bal Gangadhar Tilak that we've all heard. So that's the best way to depict their demand for Swaraj. So their ultimate objective is Swaraj. Okay. Now, with this being clear about their beliefs and their ultimate objective, let's move on to what was their way of approach. If not the 3 P's, if not pray, please, petition, if not those 6 things that the early nationalists followed, then what is their method? So their method of struggle. Number 1 is revivalism. Now, by revivalism, it is rebuilding, or I would say bringing back. Revivalism is bringing back the old heroes who have been quite inspirational. So like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he revived the Shivaji festival in 1895, and he even presented Chandragupta Vikramaditya, Rana Pratap, Shivaji as national heroes. So he started holding these festivals in community to bring people together and to organize a national movement so that people discuss, people talk, people express their political opinions. And these events were to be symbolic and inspired from great heroes like Shivaji, right? So probably Shivaji Jayanti, as we celebrate today, was actually started by Bal Gangadhar Tilak. So that's how he brought these old heroes back to fuel the spirit of nationalism and to organize a national movement. Okay. Second is Swadeshi. So we've studied Swadeshi quite in detail, so I don't want to explain much over here. But the idea of Swadeshi was quite popularized by these assertive nationalists because they believed that that was a good way to pressurize the government. Third is boycott. We've also discussed this quite well because we've seen Swadeshi and boycott go hand in hand. People did not just boycott British goods but also their services, the posts, the titles, and people who actually bought and sold British goods were also socially boycotted. So these were the 2 weapons that they used, Swadeshi and boycott. And the fourth one was national education. So we've seen when we read about the impacts of Swadeshi and boycott that there were many schools and colleges being established. So it was as a part of their method of struggle. They promoted education among the people, education, majorly secular education, religious or moral education, political education, and vocational or industrial education. So now, secular education is important to promote unity because India had a lot of religions even at that time to clear out the rift between Hindus and Muslims. So that's quite important, secular education. Religious or moral education was quite important to build up a person's character, the student's character, because it gives us moral values which are quite important. Political education is quite important to build up one's civic and political responsibilities towards the country, to help them understand what the situation is around the country. And then vocational or industrial education to help them get a good employment, to help them get good jobs. So that's how they quite well formulated a plan for the national education. So these were their 4 main methods of struggle: revivalism of various heroes and patriotic, inspirational people, Swadeshi boycott, and national education. So with this, I'm done for this podcast, and we've discussed their basic beliefs, objectives, and methods of struggle of the assertive nationalists. In the next one, we'll be moving towards the contributions of particular assertive nationalists, aggressive nationalists, and we'll be beginning with Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Then we'll be looking at Bipin Chandra Pal and Lala Lajpat Rai also. Meanwhile, I request you to watch the videos on the chapter of early nationalists, because if that's clear, it is quite easy to study these when it's in comparison. So yes, that's it for today. Until then, if you want to listen to something soothing, calm, relaxing, beautiful, just peaceful, and just chill, you can listen to Your Life in My Voice, podcast made by Dr. Sabiha, all available in YouTube. And also do like these podcasts, share it with all your friends so that it helps them out in their history work. And subscribe the YouTube channel Faiza Inamdar. Subscribe my channel so that you get all updates frequently, all updates continuously. And if there are any feedbacks, doubts, comments, feel free to put it down in the comments section or DM me at weekly.academics. Until then, you're listening to Faiza Inamdar at Weekly Academics. We'll see you soon with the contributions of Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Until then, stay home, stay safe, be healthy. Bye-bye.